Hey kids, you wanna go on an adventure? Well, you can't, because we're still in quarantine. At least in my country, I don't know about yours. So yeah, I'm still in quarantine, bored out of my mind, so I thought, why not make a little video? And what better topic to cover than a trailer that's been out for almost a full year, already picked apart and scrutinized on every conceivable level by the entire Zelda community, and by now most people are tired of seeing. Sounds good to me. Now I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a break here. This video will be a lot less heavy on editing and animation. Actually, I lied. Here's some very heavy editing and animation. Now that we have that out of the way, the reason I'm making this video specifically is because I feel like the trailer has never been really properly represented when it comes to its chronology. And in the last year or so, many new discoveries and amazing theories have come to light. I was browsing around YouTube for a while and I found plenty of videos titled something along the line of Breath of the Wild 2 trailer in chronological order. However, I have yet to find one that seems to have all the pieces in the right place. Granted, most of those videos are over a year old, so the trailer was still brand new at the time. I've added a timestamp in the description in case you only want to see the finalized result. However, I do advise you stick with me so you can see how I got to these conclusions. When looking at the trailer, it's obvious that Nintendo purposely scrambled the shots around to make the story events even more convoluted. On top of that, there's also significant events missing in between shots, making it even harder to piece this thing together. But that won't stop me from trying. Here's all 28 shots in order of appearance as presented in the trailer. A shot obviously being a self-contained continuous clip without any cuts. To make things a little bit less messy in terms of visuals, I either shortened or stretched some of the clips out to make them all play at equal length. Now I just want to warn you up front that there are significant parts of this puzzle that will require speculation, aka I will sometimes base the placement of a specific clip on the most logical conclusion. Nobody except the Zelda team has the true answers. First, I want to make a distinction between two different types of footage: perspective shots and abstract shots. Perspective shots being pieces of footage that either feature a character or features events that are clearly observable by the characters in question. And abstract shots being clips that are detached from the characters and are purely aimed at us, the audience. As an example, the scene where Revali flies up and sees the calamity unfolding in the distance, that's a perspective shot. It doesn't necessarily have to be POV. The Zelda franchise as a whole doesn't use many POV shots in general. Its scenes are mostly shot from a third-person perspective. But we are basically observing what Revali is seeing from a distance. Now, some of the shots from this cutscene, where the towers are rising up, are abstract shots. With the exception of the Great Plateau Tower, Link would likely not be able to witness some of these events happening from where he's standing. These shots are only here to give context to the player. With that said, these 4 shots right here I would categorize as abstract. The two with the green particles up close perhaps could be observed, but it's pretty clear to me that this was shown in this manner to create a mystery for the trailer itself. The shot with the castle rising up is self-evident. If we are to assume that Link and Zelda are still underground when this starts happening, which I think is the most likely scenario, then this is only meant for the audience to see what is happening with Hyrule Castle from afar. Now this shot is a tricky one. On one hand, it could actually be something that Link and Zelda are seeing, but alternatively it could also be a camera zoom into the cave to see what's happening inside. Do keep in mind that the original shot is very fast, whereas mine is slowed down. Actually, it's not even slowed down, it's just a zoom in of a still frame with some smoke effects added to it, because the original was impossible to slow down without a lot of distortion and artifacting. I had to make a guess on this one, so for now I'm categorizing it as an abstract shot. All these shots will still be included in the final result, of course. Now let's start actually puzzling this thing together. There are 3 important elements which dictate the order of the footage: the environment, Link and Zelda's tracking animal, and the torches. As you will come to see, these aspects change throughout the trailer and serves as a guide as to how events play out over time. Now this is what I believe to be the very first shot. The reasons being is that Link and Zelda still have the animal with them and they are both carrying a torch. Keep that in mind for later. Now let's work our way forward. Some of the videos I've seen seem to put this shot next, or even before it, but this doesn't make sense. First of all, there's only one wall on the left of Zelda, and this wall is not consistent with the one we see with the cave drawings on it. Not only that, but Zelda is clearly not looking at the wall. Instead, I propose that this is the next clip. Link and Zelda are taking a break, and they still have the animal with them. However, if we go back to the previous clip real quick, we can see that actually there's 3 torches here. 2 carried by Link and Zelda, and a third one mounted on the front of the animal. Here there's only 2 left, so either they lost one or they decided to extinguish it temporarily to save it for later. Next we have the bridge scene, and this is where one of the first big turning points take place. If we zoom in, we can notice several details. Link and Zelda are trying to get the animal to cross this gap to no avail. If we look very closely, we can see that there are once again 3 torches lit, one being held by Zelda and the other 2 are on the animal. The reason I know who is because the end of Zelda's sleeves are white, whereas Link has black sleeves, so Link is the one pushing, Zelda is pulling. Next is this clip. The animal is missing, probably still stuck at the bridge, and notice that we are now down to 1 torch, which leads me to believe that either Link lost his torch trying to jump across the bridge, or they might have simply decided to leave the other torches on the animal so they would have an easy time finding it on the return journey. You will also soon notice that from this point on they will start passing the torch between each other many times. I realized that there's a significant amount of people that seem to think that this is the exact moment that Zelda sees Ganondorf for the first time, but not likely. First of all, the lighting and environment doesn't match up. The room where Ganondorf resides in is very greenly lit and a lot darker. Second is Link's reaction. If this was indeed the moment they saw Ganondorf's corpse, why then is Link looking at Zelda in such a questioning manner? As if to say, what is it? What do you see? Zelda is clearly looking at something that only she has an interest in or understanding of. Again, she is the scholar here, so Link would be oblivious in such a situation. The final nail in the coffin is that in the shot where we actually see Link and Zelda staring at Ganondorf, it's Link who's holding the torch, not Zelda. So exactly what is it that Zelda sees that ruffles her feathers? Why, the cave paintings, of course. Even the angle matches up. The paintings seem to be slightly above eye level, so we can see Zelda scanning up the wall, discovering the picture of Ganondorf, and this is what gets her attention. As a matter of fact, you could even split this shot into 2 pieces and then mix them together, which would look something like this. So far so good, right? Well, you will soon see that it's gonna get a hell of a lot more difficult and speculative from here on out. For the next piece of the puzzle, I chose this shot right here. Now, you could say, wait, isn't this the entrance to the cave? Isn't this supposed to be at the very beginning? I don't believe it is. I'm quite certain that this is the entrance to the room where Ganondorf is sealed, not the entrance to the entire cave system. First of all, aesthetically, it looks like this door is already underground, and the decorations on the entrance itself seem to depict Ganon in his pig form, which indicates that this is the chamber where he's being kept. But we need additional proof, something to link it to this specific room. Who am I kidding? You already know I thought this through. If we look at this clip where the rat is being swallowed up by Malice, we can see that unlike the rest of the cave we've seen so far, this wall has a brick pattern, as well as these steps made from individual stone blocks. Now, let's zoom in on the entrance. Adjust the brightness a little bit and yep, it definitely looks like the same type of brick pattern. The sides of the stairs don't exactly match up with the ones we see in the other shot, but if we are to assume that this hallway leads directly into the room with Ganondorf, then it's possible that a similar stairs leading down exists on the other side. We can actually see that when Link and Zelda are looking at Ganondorf from a distance, they seem to be slightly elevated and looking down. Also, since the malice leaking away from Ganondorf seems to be contained to this room alone, and we don't see it pop up anywhere else in the cave system, I think it's a safe bet that this is indeed around the same area. The one thing we can't know is if during this shot Link and Zelda are already inside, or if they're still on the outside looking at the entrance. If this is before they enter, this could actually be a perspective shot, not an abstract one. Again, the original shot is really fast and not a slow zoom in like the one you see here, but this could just as well have been sped up for the purpose of the trailer. Next, I decided to put in this clip, because from this shot Ganondorf is seen from a lot further away than in this over-the-shoulder view of Link and Zelda gazing upon him. After that, I added this top-down view. This one was very hard to give a definitive place. We have so many shots of Ganondorf with the green spiral, and putting all of them back to back seems like it would be too repetitive. After a couple of shots we get the point, so there has to be something in between. We can also see that this is still before Link and Zelda get closer to Ganondorf, as there's no one standing on this platform, neither do we see Link or Zelda walking into frame. One quick thing to note, looking at it from this angle, it's obvious that this platform only has one way in and out. This bridge right here is the one we will see collapse later, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We then transition to the shot of Link and Zelda looking at Ganondorf. And next we follow up with these 4 shots. I do believe that these shots are sequential, just like in the original trailer. The way they flow into each other just makes sense. I then follow up with what was originally the opening segment. This one again is very hard to place since it's a very abstract shot. But as an editor, I figured in the last shot we saw the hand up close, so next we can follow up with some particles up close. This shot doesn't really change or impact the flow of the trailer anyway. It could take place between any of the clips where we see the green spiral. So far I've been able to order most clips with relative certainty without inserting too many what-ifs, but from this point this is going to change however, and I'm forced to choose a scenario that is the most logical based on what we can derive from the trailer. I've talked to multiple theorists about this, and the most likely scenario in my eyes is the following. The cave collapse we see happening later on is the result of Ganondorf using what little strength he can gather up to cause a small earthquake, while still being trapped inside the seal. And I fully support this theory. We've seen Ganondorf do something very similar before in Ocarina of Time, where despite lying unconscious on the floor, using the last of his strength to collapse the entire castle in a desperate attempt to crush Link and Zelda beneath the rubble. So this is definitely something that is within his power. Ganondorf has been sealed here deep underground for millennia. All he can do is wait until enough of his malice leaks out and builds up to create another calamity, which takes approximately 10,000 years. Since his most recent calamity failed once again, it's unlikely Ganondorf is gonna want to wait another 10,000 years for his next attempt. Having Link and Zelda, the keys to his defeat, in the same room with him grants him a unique opportunity to break free. By causing a cave collapse and severely endangering the lives of Link and Zelda, he is basically forcing the green hand that has him pinned down to make a choice. Uphold the seal or save the lives of Zelda and Link. Remember, Zelda carries the bloodline of the goddess Hylia. If Zelda dies, that's it. No more reincarnated goddess. So obviously the hand chooses to save them and break the seal, setting Ganondorf free. So with this scenario in mind, we can finally piece together the remaining parts of the trailer. Link has passed the torch back to Zelda, who curiously approaches Ganondorf's corpse to investigate, after which we see Ganondorf's fingers starting to twitch, reacting to her presence. A flash of Ganondorf's past, possibly symbolizing his anger and frustration, manifests on the wall behind him, the hand still gripping onto his chest. This is when the earthquake is set into motion. We then cut to the full body shot of Ganondorf. The earth is beginning to tremble. Now the clip I'm showing you here is obviously slowed down, but in the original we can see that the camera is severely shaking. Zelda turns around in fear as to what is happening. Notice that she's no longer holding the torch she was carrying earlier. There's clearly a missing part here that happens off camera in between these two clips. And if we skip forward a little bit, we can see that Link is now yet again the one carrying it. So, after taking a closer look at Ganondorf, she handed the torch back to Link and for some reason has started to walk back across the bridge and towards the entrance. Whether this is because she saw or heard something near the entrance or wanted to go grab a piece of equipment is anyone's guess. We see the ground shaking beneath Zelda's feet and the bridge collapses. Now you might argue that these two clips could be ordered the other way around. First the ground shaking beneath her feet and then she turns around. But if we look closely at the ground, we can see that she's already facing the light source, which in all probability is the torch that Link is holding. So she's already facing in that direction. Yeah, I'm getting into OCD territory when it comes to the details right now. Next, we have Link grabbing hold of Zelda to prevent her from falling into the depths below. However, notice how Link is nowhere near grabbing range when the bridge collapses. There is again a missing part here. Either the bridge didn't fully collapse right away, giving Zelda time to run across and grab Link's hand, or Zelda made a leap towards the ledge, at which point Link manages to grab her. However, with the ground still shaking and Link having no solid footing, Link keels over towards the chasm, and they are both about to go over the edge, at which point the hand breaks the seal and grabs Link to pull them back to safety. With the seal now broken, the green spiral's energy disintegrates. and Ganondorf springs to life, having finally been freed from his agonizing prison. A wave of malice bursts from his chest, hitting the ceiling with tremendous force. And then we come to our little rodent friend right here. The placing of this shot is given away by the type of malice we observe. Throughout the trailer, we see two types of malice. The more calm, dimly lit and swirling strands surrounding Ganondorf before he wakes up, and the more bright red, aggressive kind we see in the previous shot. Assuming that this creature is somewhere near the entrance, it would make sense that after the malice hits the ceiling, it branches out into the rest of the chamber, and maybe even out through the entrance itself. I actually have a little theory or idea of my own regarding this particular shot, but I will save it for the very end of the video so we can keep moving. So if you want to hear my thoughts on it, make sure to stay until after the end screen. Next we see Link's hand getting possessed by the green energy. I was initially thinking of putting this shot after the part where the hand grabs Link, but then I realized two things. One, it wouldn't make sense for this to happen right after Link gets grabbed, since, well, with Link and Zelda still dangling over the chasm and all. It would make sense if they first be brought to safety while all this other crazy stuff is going on. And we indeed see that by the time Link's hand gets afflicted, he has regained his footing. Second, and I'm ashamed I've never noticed this before, but it's actually his left hand that gets grabbed in this shot. Yet it's his right hand that absorbs the green energy. So it only makes sense that this happens a bit later. Maybe even after Ganondorf has already taken off, which he probably will as soon as possible. Ganondorf is in a weakened, mummified state. Having failed to kill Link and Zelda, I doubt he's gonna want to stick around to get obliterated by Link's fully powered Master Sword. So yeah, the green hand transfers whatever power is still left inside it to Link, and we end with the shot of Ganondorf taking off with Hyrule Castle. Whew, that was a mouthful. So now let's take a look at the finished product. One thing to mention though is that since the trailer is now all chopped up and stretched out, I won't be able to use the original audio anymore, since that would sound horrible. So I added some sound effects of my own and replaced the music with something else. So let's roll the clip. Alright, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Let's try that again. And with that, I will conclude this video. A video that I estimated was gonna be about 7 minutes tops. That obviously panned out differently. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next video. This is Don signing off, and have a good one. Okay, so hear me out. What if Ganondorf purposely targets this rat, corrupting it and turning it into some kind of malice-infested monstrosity in order to keep Link and Zelda busy so he can make his escape? Not only that, but this monster he just created will serve as the first tutorial enemy for Link to test out his new green hand ability. Ever since Nintendo Black Crisis' video, there's been a lot of talk about this green hand that's keeping Ganondorf sealed being able to extract malice. In which case, Link and Zelda might have to fight it to weaken it first, and when it's weak enough, you can use the green hand ability to extract the malice from it, turning this ROUS back to normal. Yes? No? Maybe? Okay, bye.